Rodriguez, here.
Ms. Canoyer,
Suzanne Canoyer here.
Mr. Diaz,
Rafael Diaz here.
Renee Pichelle here. At this time, we will continue with the acknowledgement of visitors and citizens to be heard. We do not have any that have signed up. Then, Dr. Ball, we will move on to item 3, Elementary and Secondary Emergency Relief Fund.
Yes, Madam Board President and board members, as we have discussed previously, we've been working, having committees, putting out surveys to our staff and to our students in regards to what we refer to as the ESSER funds. And Jody Burton has prepared tonight's presentation to continue to give feedback to the board and to our community into some of the plans, possible plans, that we could use the ESSER funds for. So I will ask Jody Burton to please come up and thank her for putting together this PowerPoint, and we look forward to hearing the information.
Excuse me, Ms. Burton, you need to speak into the microphone so that yes,
Apologize.
everything can be picked up.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Lacey. As far as the Sr3 funds, the federal government issued actually 3 levels of funds. Sr1 came out in about July, August, and Sr2 we're still waiting on guidance on that, and as well as the release of funds. But just this past month, Sr3 has been released to the states, and then the state of Texas has released that to the local school districts. And as far as for Sr3, the big focus, 20% of the funds have to be directed towards learning loss. This is kind of known as our learning loss grant. And as far as for Judson ISD, our total allocation is about $43.5 million. We will receive 2/3 of that as soon as we submit the grant, receive our NOGA, and then later on, about August, September, the federal government will release the other third, and then we will amend our grant to receive the last third of it. This grant is good for 3 years. And so as we're doing our plans, it's not just, thinking about a lot of our grants are for the current year, ready, set, go. We're actually making our plans so that we're looking at over the duration of the 3 years with another year of carryover of how are we going to implement and to support the learning losses that our students have endured over this past year. As far as our priority focus items, these were set in place and decided on. One of the greatest ones that is coming about is pre-K for all. So for our 3 and 4-year-olds, they will be able to come to our campuses, enroll, and be able to attend for preschool, even if they may not meet the state requirements. And they will be able to attend without tuition, which will be a huge benefit for our families. The other one is for extended school year at Converse Elementary. They actually start in July, which the board has approved. Also for 4 of our assistant principals at our elementary schools, going into this next school year, we were going to split them between campuses, which would have made it a struggle. And with Sr3, we're realizing that they need that continuous support on the campuses, and so Sr3 will help support that. And then as well as technology devices to make sure that we're staying current, and as well as replacement for devices to continue that one-on-one device with our students as well as for our staff. There are different uses of funds or different plans that are requirements. One of the biggest ones is to make sure that we have come up with a use of funds, which will be the actual grant application that we submit to TEA. The other plan is a little bit more extensive, and it's called the Return to In-Person Instruction and Continuity of Services Plan. And so looking at making sure how are we going to implement over the next 3 years, and then every 6 months, we have to put in progress measurements where we're going to check how are we doing on our plan. Do we need to revise, or can we continue on and things are going well with our plan? One of the requirements also is that once we receive our NOGA, or from the TEA says, your application looks great, you're ready to start drawing down your funds, at that point, then we have to make sure that our plans are uploaded on our Judson website so that our community or stakeholders can see these are the plans that we are implementing with these funds. One of the other things that we did do is that we did survey both our Judson staff as well as our Judson students, both in 8th and 11th grade. And we looked at both professionals, our paraprofessionals, and our auxiliary. Some of our top 5 items that our staff considered as our priorities had to deal with smaller class sizes. These were also priorities when the school board met, as well as our principals. There was a close alignment with what our staff are saying. To separate our librarian as well as our tag teacher positions at our elementaries, additional RTI staff to close the gap, campus technology support personnel, as well as HVAC dealing with our air filtration system. Looking at our 8th and 11th graders, their focus shifted a little bit in comparison to our adults. They spoke with more of the emphasis of dealing with social emotional, which I thought was fabulous, that it came from our students' voice. So they would like to see actual student support services, medical wraparound that included dental, doctors, and then also to continue with social work. High school credit recovery, dealing with the air filtration system, virtual school environment, and then social emotional supports to increase with our social workers, our communities, and schools. So very loud and clear from our students, the difference between the view of our adults. And these are the comparisons of when it went to our district site-based committee, the principals, as well as the school board as far as the top 8. And that included the activity that the school board did about 2 sessions ago with you guys. As far as our next steps is to continue addressing our learning loss of our Judson students and implementing supports and programs both academically as well as social emotional. Trainings that I've attended with TEA is that this is not just an academic learning loss, but it is social emotional. And unless we are addressing the social emotional, we're not going to make the academic gains. Our students said that very loud and clear for us of what they've endured this year. Also to continue communication with our Judson stakeholders in providing updates and obtaining feedback from you. We will draft and complete the 2 required plans and then stay current with the updates from TA as well as Region 20. One of the things that I've noticed with this particular grant, TA has been really great as far as the amount of training and the questions and answers, the FAQs that they've been putting out for us to make sure that we're aligned with what our U.S. government is wanting us to do with it. So it's been very helpful. So if anybody has any questions, please let me know. Welcome them. Questions or comments?
Just a follow-up comment. So we have some very good data that Jody has done an excellent job gathering data from our teachers, from our students specifically, from various stakeholder meetings. So this week at our senior staff meeting, we are going to continue to look at that information and put that all together and then be ready to share with the board some very specifics on June the 3rd at that special board meeting to be able to share with you. These are some of our recommendations. We just wanted to make sure we spent a good amount of time gathering data and information. I think a lot of the things that were mentioned in here, they might use different names, but we know the gist of what is needed. a big one area of social emotional, the academic need. So I think we have some very good information to continue to draw up our plan.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? This is a public hearing. The audience, you are, invited to speak. Well, if there's no, yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
I was waiting for the audience to make sure there wasn't a comment. I just want to thank you, Ms. Burton, for the hard work that you have put together. And I know that filling out these grant applications is not much fun. And I do appreciate the attention to detail you're putting in. And I do thank all of our stakeholders who gave input on this. And I know that we're going to be able to use these funds to make a difference with our students. So thank you.
Thank you.
If there's nothing else, this public hearing is over at 5:42 p.m. Thank you.
Let me know if I can help you. Yeah, absolutely. Good to see you. Thanks for not being a bouncer and knocking me out. Sure. Okay. Okay. Great. I'll take your oath. Yeah. Great. One by one. Sure.
This regular meeting of the Judson Board of Trustees is hereby called to order at 6:01 p.m. I am very pleased that you have taken time to join us this evening. As the Board of Trustees, we are here to set goals and policies and oversee the management of the district. We are responsible for approving budgets, contracts, personal appointments, and to listen to reports from the superintendent. We are not here to make administrative or management decisions pertaining to the daily operations of the district. This is the responsibility of the superintendent. In compliance with the State Government Code on Open Meetings, tonight's agenda has been appropriately posted. This is a meeting in public, not a meeting of the public, and as our guests, you are welcome to observe and listen. These proceedings are being video and audio recorded and will become part of Judson's permanent legal record. In order that the tape adequately reflects those proceedings, please silence your mobile devices and refrain from talking while others are speaking. Since it is legally mandated that these proceedings are recorded accurately, I may have to ask for order periodically should I notice that disruptions are interfering with our recording capabilities. Once again, I extend to each of you a sincere welcome from the entire school board. Thank you for your interest in Judson ISD. We have established a quorum, and I will call roll. Ms. King?
Shatanya King, present.
Ms. Eaton?
Deborah Eaton, present.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Jennifer Rodriguez, present.
Ms. Canoyer?
Suzanne Canoyer, present.
Mr. Diaz?
Rafael Diaz present.
I am Renee Pichelle, present, and to my immediate left is our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Jeanette Ball.
Welcome.
At this time, would you please stand for our invocation and pledges?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Pastor Langford, the senior pastor of Liberty Grace Community Church. I've been invited to do the invitation on tonight. Let us bow and pray. Holy and righteous God, Heavenly Father, we humble ourselves in your presence on this evening, Lord God. We give you all glory, honor, and praise, and we just thank you, Lord God, how you have kept us under your wings of love and under your shadow of protection throughout the day, Lord God. We thank you, Lord God, for those who have been called, Lord God, to be educators, Lord God, and the administrators, Lord God, and those on tonight, Lord God, that would be sworn in as trustees, Lord God. We pray, O Heavenly Father, that you endow them with wisdom, that you endow them, O Heavenly Father, with guidance and courage, and that you encourage them, Lord God, and strengthen them, and that they will make wise decisions in their deliberations. We ask, O Heavenly Father, that you would give them the humility, Lord God, to seek you in all things, that they're not leaning to their own understanding. And we give you glory in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Colors. Forward. March. Color guard. Halt. Present. Colors.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Colors. Colors reverse. March. Forward. March. Color guard. Halt.
At this time, we will have our recognition of visitors. Excuse me, recognitions.
Good evening, everyone. We begin our recognitions this month congratulating our Texas Academic Decathlon State winners from JECA. Augustine Valdez brought home a bronze medal in the mathematics honor. Luis Juarez also received a bronze medal in social science honor. And Reginald Parks won a gold medal in interview scholastic. Congratulations, students from JECA, on their Texas Academic Decathlon State presentation. Our next recognition is from Veterans Memorial High School. Recently, orchestra students achieved superior ratings at the UIL solo and ensemble. All 8 students receive a 1 on their solos, but 2 students, Gavin and Angela, are advancing to the Texas State Solo and Ensemble Contest. They will perform a memorized professional level solo for university professors. Best of luck to Gavin and Angela. Recently, the Wagner High School Computer Science UIL team competed in region competitions and placed 3rd overall, with Ian Fernandez placing 2nd individual, which gave him a seat at the state competition. Ian outperformed many students and placed 11th at the state competition, which is the highest in this area in San Antonio. As we know that Austin has a large amount of the computer science winners, but congratulations to Ian Fernandez. Veterans Memorial High School students competed at the UIL regional competition. This year, the competition was held virtually, allowing students that haven't been on campus to participate and have the potential to earn scholarship awards their senior year. Michelle Finley took 1st place and became the regional champion in prose oral interpretation. Michelle has advanced to UIL state competitions scheduled to take place May 25th and 26th. Best of luck to Michelle. Students from Veterans Memorial, Wagner, and Judson High School represented the district at the UIL state track meet. Santos Flores from Wagner placed 8th in the 800-meter run. Callie Morrison, a junior from Veterans Memorial High School, placed 4th in the 200-meter run. The Judson High School girls 4x200 relay team placed 4th, and the Judson High School girls 3x100 relay team placed 8th. The Judson High School boys also competed at the state meet in the 4x200 and 4x400 relay. Congratulations to all of our athletes. This next recognition comes from Wagner High School. This senior has only been wrestling for 2 years, and both years qualified for the state tournament. Sebastian Pacheco qualified for the UIL State Wrestling Tournament in the 106 weight class. He is the team captain of the wrestling team this year, and Coach Duarte says he is a pillar of the program. A student who shows up, works hard, and leaves everything on the mat. Congratulations, Sebastian. Another congratulations to our Wagner JROTC Thunderbird Armed and Unarmed Drill Team for qualifying for the U.S. Army and U.S. National Services JROTC Drill Championship. History was made with both armed and unarmed this weekend, as they are now nationally ranked among all service branches, which include Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine JROTCs. A special thanks to the cadets on the team as instructors for a successful year of drill team during a pandemic. Congratulations to Judson High School senior Kiera Sanderlin, who was selected to play at the Texas Association of Basketball Coaches All-Star Game. Only 24 student athletes were selected for the 6A All-Star Game. Kiera showcased her talent one last time in San Antonio before leaving to play at Rutgers University. Judson ISD is being showcased from all ends at the All-Star Game. For the second time in her career, Judson High School head basketball coach Christina Camacho was selected to coach the TGCA 5A-6A All-Star Basketball Game in Arlington, and Coach Corrales, the Executive Director of Athletics, was also selected to coach the TABC All-Stars, the charcoal team. Her team includes our very own Kiera Sanderlin. The best high school players in Texas will showcase their skills, so it's only fitting that they are coached by the best. Our last recognition of the evening is very special. because it showcases how extraordinary our entire district truly is. At this time, I would like to invite to the podium Mr. Ed Vara and Ms. Drummond from Region 20.
Ed and I are honored to be here to celebrate this very special occasion with you, Dr. Ball. We want to start by saying I'm speechless. I've known you so long, and I'm so proud to say that I know you and know what a great leader you are, just from the bottom of my heart. I am going to read to you. Dr. Goldhorn cannot be here this evening, but he did write a letter, and I'd like to take the honor of reading that letter to you guys. And it starts with, Dear Dr. Jeanette Ball, it is with great pleasure that I congratulate you on being named the 2021 Tasa Superintendent of the Year. This award is based on outstanding leadership, management, school climate, school board superintendent relations, school improvement and instructional leadership, fiscal management, and school community relations, all qualities that you hold. I echo the words of your Judson ISD trustee president, Dr. Renee Pascal, when she said, she possesses a unique understanding and abiding love of education, educators, and our community. She knows the essentials, what works and what doesn't, while being open to opportunities that broaden ideas to magnify students, the schools, and the community successes. You are described as a strong and effective leader that rallies for positive school climate while fostering the leader within everyone. You exemplify excellence in education, personal perseverance, and positively affect your district. I commend you for leading Judson ISD through a strategic planning process to develop key priorities. You truly embody the characteristics defined in the Judson Leadership Key. Your relationship with your board is one of a servant leader. It incites communication and innovation while creating strong partnerships. Your focus on meeting the individual needs of all learners remains at the forefront of the district. Your team is one that respects every individual, believes in each employee, and recognizes their collective talents and creative ideas. Under your leadership, you have stayed attuned with your stakeholders through the community leadership forums, such as Employee Superintendent Advisory Committee, the Word on the Street, love that title, and the Leadership and Community in Unity Forum. Your consistent and conservative fiscal management has allowed the district to increase the fund balance and implement a district-wide one-to-one technology initiative to enhance and increase student opportunities for success. Indeed, you have proven to be a strategic problem solver and an advocate for public education in Judson. I'm going to add this, in Judson and in the state. We are honored to have the opportunity to serve leaders like yourself at Region 20. We share your excitement on such a great accomplishment, and thank you for the vision to support your students and the community of Judson ISD. Congratulations, Jeanette. We wish you the best as you continue to represent Region 20 in the next level at the state that's coming up soon. So thank you, congratulations, and we would love to ask you to come down.
Come to the center.
You'll sit.
And Dr. Ball, this is for your send-off to the state. So wishing you the best.
I'll try my best.
Thank y'all. Thank you so much. Thank you.
That concludes our recognitions for this evening. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge our visitors that are in the audience. You just saw our staff from Region 20, Mr. Vara and Ms. Drummond. Thank you for being here. I would like to also acknowledge Pastor Langford. Pastor Langford, thank you very much for that invocation. We also have in our audience school board, the State Board of Education representative, Mrs. Marisa Perez-Diaz. And last but not least, we have our Commissioner of Commissioner Precinct 4, Tommy Calvert. Thank you all for being here. At this time, we have acknowledgement of visitors and citizens to be heard. There is only one who has signed up, Marissa Terry. You're on.
Okay. Hi, y'all. Good evening, board members. I'd like to say thank you for a school year that, while very different than any other, was a good school year for my children. Both my kids are in primary school, and they both receive services. For these reasons, among many others, I chose for them to go to in-person learning as soon as Safe Haven became available. My fears and apprehensions were alleviated as soon as I had them on campus. We have a very positive and supportive staff, and I felt relieved. I'm very happy to have in-person learning offered in this state, and very happy that Judson continued remote learning after TEA discontinued the requirement to do so. I believe Judson did their best in regards to both academic choices. Now, before Governor Abbott made his announcement regarding masks earlier this week, I was going to address the board regarding masks because of the impact potentially on education. Like I said, both my students are service receiving, and one has speech therapy and the other has dyslexia services, and they both had 100% mask wearing. This impacted the ability to articulate, to have accuracy and fluency when reading, and I know it impacted my sons. Like I said, very good school, so we had good results despite everything. But other kids in other areas, I'm sure, were also affected. And so I know that mask wearing can be looked at politically. It can be looked at as a health concern, certainly should be. But there's also an educational aspect to it. And I don't believe my children were the only ones impacted by 100% mask wearing. But since the governor has said that it needs to be optional now, I just want parents to be reminded for this upcoming school year and for summer school, because that's just around the corner, that Judson ISD has lots of other policies regarding health that are in effect and are effective. So while a mask can be worn, whether students and staff choose to do so is only one aspect of illness prevention. I encourage the board to reaffirm the community at large that health is a priority at Judson ISD. Many policies and practices will continue into the summer and the upcoming school year, all with the intention to stop the spread of COVID-19 and to protect students, staff, and the community at large. I thank you for your dedication to the community and the students and staff. Thank you.
At this time, we will have the swearing in of newly elected board members. We will begin with Ms. Eaton. We will start, yes, with Ms. Eaton. Would you please come forward, Ms. Eaton, up to the microphone on the floor?
Let's see, let's move it
There you
over
go.
here. Is this all right? Thank you, Ms. Eaton. Let me just say a quick word to you and your board. Let me thank President Pascal for your hospitality and your leadership on this board, all members of the Board of Trustees, and certainly the Superintendent for your inspirational and excellent leadership being recognized. It's an inspiring day for me to be here, to know and see your humble ways, giving credit to the team, which is true, that we all do things as a team. This board is certainly part of this team, this community, and I salute you, all of you who work tirelessly on behalf of our children. It's so important what you do. I just want to make a couple of brief introductory comments before I administer the oath of office on behalf of the state of Texas and the Commissioner's Court. This has been one heck of a year. I don't have to tell anybody in this room that. And we've all realized during the pandemic that we're vulnerable, and we've had to come together to help each other. I'm very proud that I led the court in creating the testing program for children, passed millions of dollars to help our teachers and the children at Judson ISD get testing at a time where it was difficult to do so for asymptomatic children. And we stand ready to continue to be a partner with you. I have just allocated $200,000 to reopen the Boys and Girls Club at Candlewood Elementary School, so that after school and during the summer, our young people in areas that really needs it are able to be enriched. The Boys and Girls Club did amazing things for me. But the very first thing they taught me was my very first speech teacher was at the Boys and Girls Club. So I'll never forget that, and I hope that, I told the young people when I went, I hope one of you will replace me one day. I'm looking forward to that. I also was the person who worked with Chancellor Mike Flores at the Alamo College District to get the county to fill the gap on the funding for 2 years of free community college for students at Judson and beyond. And so we hope and pray that in this very tumultuous year where I have really felt for our children in terms of what they've had to leap over, it's been a hurtling kind of year. Things to leap over at almost every turn, and they're doing it, but we'll keep an eye. And I want to extend to you the conversation. Let's keep this conversation open about what the young people and the faculty and the community need. We need each other. We have to do this together. We're not all exactly sure of what the outcomes will be to mental health, to educational attainment. The road is uncharted right now. But I stand as a partner, as a former preschool teacher and someone who has a mother who's a professor in academia. I stand ready to help you with all of the goals that you need. So thank you for indulging me a moment to just kind of reconnect, touch base on what we're working on in the community alongside of Judson Independent School District, and to commend and salute your work. Let me just say about Mrs. Eden, it is an honor to administer the oath of office on your behalf. I've seen you in the community. You've gained the trust once again of the community, and that's a big thing. In the past, Judson School Board has had its knockout dragouts of arguments, and it's legendary, if you will, in politics. Let's put it that way. But I feel a greater sense of community, unity, and moving forward together, and that's really important. So I want to salute your victory and ask, I don't know if you have anyone in the audience you want to hold the Bible for you. If not, I can ask Clyde or one of your family. Pastor, okay, yes. Will you please come and hold this Bible, and you can come on down. Come on down. Oops, sorry about that. If you will, you can stand right on the side here, and you can put your left hand on the Bible and your right hand if you'll raise it. Thank you very much. If you'll repeat after me. In the name and by the in the name and by the authority.
In the name and by the authority.
Of the state of Texas.
Of the state of Texas.
I, Deborah Eaton.
I, Deborah Eaton.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The duties of the office.
The duties of the office.
Of Judson Independent School District.
Of Judson Independent School District.
Member of the Board of Trustees.
Member of the Board of Trustees.
Of the state of Texas.
Of the state of Texas.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve.
Preserve.
Protect.
Protect.
And defend.
And defend.
The Constitution.
The Constitution.
And laws of the United States.
And laws of the United States.
And this state.
And this state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Ms. Eaton.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Mr. Jose Macias.
Come on up, Brother Jose. And I think your wife will probably hold the Bible here today. Good, 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 good. Let me just make a few introductory comments about the outstanding leadership of Jose Macias. It is an honor to administer this oath. I have watched a lot of elected officials and a lot of leaders in a variety of capacities throughout my life. And I want to commend your vision, your attention to detail, and doing the work that is required to have success for the people you serve. You have put in the hard work, you've innovated, you've put in the ideas, and this community has sent you back to serve. There's no doubt God isn't through with you yet. You have a tremendous pathway ahead, and I'm very grateful that the community has returned you to serve here in the Judson Independent School District. So with that, if you will raise your right hand and put your other hand on the Bible and repeat after me. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, I, Jose Macias, Jr., do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of Judson Independent School District, member of the Board of Trustees of the state of Texas, and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state. So help me God. Congratulations.
Mr. Rafa Diaz.
I'm a little short. And I'm gonna adjust a little bit. I don't wanna turn my back to everybody, so I'm gonna, whoops. That's good, yeah. I'm not quite as tall as Tommy, so. So, good evening, everybody. It is an honor and a privilege to be here tonight. I don't quite have the beautiful radio voice that Tommy does, but I too wanted to share just a few words before I issue the oath, because I think it's really timely and it needs to be said that this board has done a tremendous job over the last year and a half. It's been a really tough year. I won't go over everything that Tommy addressed, because it's true. We all know it. We all experienced it. But I have the honor and the privilege of swearing in the next 3 individuals who all work in education. And my heart is with you all, because it is really difficult work. And so to see people that work in education that are also policymaking in education speaks volumes to me personally, because I've been there and I'm doing that. And so thank you so much, not just as an SPOE member who also has to work in policy education through this really difficult time, but thank you as a longtime resident in Judson ISD. You all have committed so much time and energy to making sure our community, my family's community, has been served the best way possible in really tumultuous times. And as a wife, I didn't expect I was going to do my husband first, so I'm going to try not to get too emotional. But I've seen Rafa work for years, just as a committed member of his community in different ways, in different arenas. And I've never seen him, as committed and as passionate about the work that he does as he has shown in the time that he spent here in Judson with you all. You all have taught him a lot, so thank you as well. But he is truly somebody who I personally admire and look to as a support. And so I am excited to share him once again with the community. And I'll definitely be here to help hold him accountable like everybody else. But I'm proud of you, and I love you, and it's my honor to issue your oath of office tonight. So, and I'm going to introduce his beautiful mother, Rosalba Diaz, who is going to hold the Bible for him. Okay. All right. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, I, Rafa Diaz. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, if you'll repeat.
I, Rafa Diaz.
Do solemnly swear. That I will faithfully execute. The duties of the office of Judson Independent School District. Member of the Board of Trustees of the State of Texas. And will do to the best of my ability. Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. And the laws of the United States of this state. So help me God. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Mr. Diaz. Ms. Shatanya King.
I'm going to have you all stand over here really quickly. And before I issue the oath to Ms. King, I also want to say, in this time that we've experienced with COVID, it's been really difficult for our classroom educators. I can't begin to imagine what our counselors have had to endure. On top of having to make sure that our students who are getting ready to matriculate out of K-12 education are prepared as best possible into college. You're also having to deal with a lot of social emotional issues, I'm sure, in and out of the classroom. And so thank you so much for all of the work that you've done over this last year in your professional role as a member of the district, and then as your board role as well. So I appreciate you. Yeah. If you'll repeat after me. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, I, Shatanya King, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of the Judson Independent School District, member of the Board of Trustees of the State of Texas, and will do to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States of this state. So help me God. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Ms. King. And last but certainly not least, Ms. Rodriguez.
So my family couldn't be here tonight because my husband had some childcare duties. So I'm going to ask a favor, and she's going to be so embarrassed. But Mrs. Gutierrez has been my next door neighbor for 14 years, and I'm hoping that she can hold the Bible for me. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Ms. Gutierrez. Okay, and then before I issue the oath of office for Ms. Rodriguez, as somebody who has worked and committed her life to public education as well in a very different way, I appreciate all of the support that you offer for our up-and-coming educators and preparing them to walk into the classroom and to engage in really new and different ways, especially over this last year. So thank you so much. And are you ready? All right. In the name and by the authority of the State of Texas, I, Jennifer Rodriguez, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of the Judson Independent School District, member of the Board of Trustees of the State of Texas, and will to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of this state. So help me God. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Ms. Rodriguez, and congratulations to everyone. Dr. Ball, at this time, are we going to take a short, brief?
Yes, ma'am. We have some drinks and some cupcakes.
Yes, so at this time, we want to take a brief intermission and let the families mingle and everybody mingle.
Oh, and I think that first, if the board members could come to the middle so we could take a picture.
Okay.
First, let's take a picture with the board.
Okay, very good. The time now is 6:41. Brianna, we'll take a short, is that Natalie back there? Natalie, we'll take a brief intermission.
We'll take one with the board by themselves and then one with me with the board. You want to do it that way? Okay.
And then the recently people want to do it also with the full board.
There's too many cupcakes left. I don't think you guys got enough. All right, this meeting has resumed. It is 7:00 p.m., and we are now at number 5, nominations for the Judson ISD Board leadership, President, Vice President, and Secretary. Nominations are now in order for the office of President. Are there any nominations from the floor?
I nominate Rafael Diaz for Board President.
I second that nomination.
Are there any other nominations?
I nominate Renee Pichelle.
Are there any other nominations?
I second.
Any other nominations from the floor? Rafa Diaz is nominated for the office of President, and Renee Pichelle. We will start with Rafa Diaz. Those four, well, I'll just do a roll call.
Is there discussion on this?
Pardon me?
Is there discussion on this item? Or do we just
No,
straight
sir,
vote?
but if you choose to decline, you may. But what we will do is take each nomination one at a time and vote. Go ahead and speak your
I'm going
mind.
to decline.
Pardon me?
So there's no conversation over the item,
No, sir.
but I can say whatever I want.
You may,
Oh, okay,
on
perfect.
your own behalf.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's a funny way to start a conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and decline, and I'll give you the reasons why. The board has had a wonderful experience and growth by ensuring that we all stay focused and aligned to purpose. I am not somebody who seeks out positions for title or because it provides me a platform to do more, because I already do that in any positionality that I have. If some of our members, and I agree, if some of our members choose to have our current board president continue her service, then there is no value for me to fracture, because I'll continue to do my job the same way that I did it yesterday. So I'm going to decline. I appreciate it, though, Ms. Eden, I really do appreciate that. However, at this time, I'm comfortable where I'm at, and I want us to continue focused on the work that we have to do. So thank you.
Rafa Diaz declines, for the record.
And just for clarity, I'd like to also say something, too, since I'm the one that nominated Mr. Diaz.
Yes, sir.
I've always believed that the president position is one. Yes, it's on. It should be on. Which one is it? Is it this one? There we go. Thank you, Dr. Ball. So just to reiterate, my reason for the nomination is because I've always believed that the board president position should be one where every board member should have an opportunity to serve. We're all alike. We're all the same. We all have one vote. So, Rafael, you had a very strong victory, and so that should be commended. And so in the vein of just rotating, I know that Renee doesn't want to just hold on to it forever. I'm sure she's willing to do something else with that. But it's important that every board member go through the president position so they understand the different intricacies of the work as a school board member. That's the only reason I made that choice. So.
Thank you, sir. So we will start then with, we'll take a roll call. Ms. King, what say you?
Once
President, I apologize. We are voting now for the president?
By acclamation, I assume there's no one else opposing you.
I move we elect Ms. Pichelle president by acclamation.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
And one nay. Ms. Pichelle is president. We will go on now to the office of vice president. Nominations are now in order for the office of vice president.
I nominate Deborah Eaton.
Are there any other nominations? I would like to nominate Suzanne Canoyer to continue her position.
Second.
We will start with Ms. Eaton. I would like to ask for some clarity from our board secretary, Ms. Holmes. I don't recall that before when we have done these nominations.
You don't need a second.
Okay, that's what I thought. I didn't think that it was necessary for a second, but I would like some clarity, Ms. Holmes. All right, thank you so much. Then we will start with Deborah Eaton. Those in favor of Deborah Eaton, please raise your hand. Say aye. Aye. Suzanne Canoyer, please raise your hand or say aye. Aye. Rafa Diaz, Suzanne Canoyer, Jennifer Rodriguez, and Ms. Shatanya King. That would be 5. 5 for Ms. Canoyer, 2 for Ms. Eaton. Ms. Canoyer is the vice president. Secretary. Nominations are now in order for the secretary.
I nominate Jennifer Rodriguez.
Jennifer Rodriguez. Are there any others? May we please have a motion for Jennifer Rodriguez?
I move we elect Jennifer Rodriguez secretary by acclamation.
All those in favor say aye. 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 And Jennifer Rodriguez is our continuing secretary. Thank you very much, everyone. Let us continue with item 6, consideration of consent items. If there are any items that anyone would like to pull, please let me know. Item 6A, consider and take action regarding approving board minutes from the regular meeting held on April the 15th and the special meeting held on April the 29th, 2021. B, consider and take action regarding approving monthly financial information as of March the 31st, 2021. C, consider and take action regarding approving cash investment report for all funds as of March the 31st, 2021. Item D, consider and take action regarding approving budget transfers across expenditure function categories. Item E, consider and take action regarding approving amendment to the budget for the 2021 fiscal year. Item F, consider and take action regarding approving the change order for the above ceiling horizontal galvanized water line replacement for the request for competitive sealed proposal 20-19 Elof Elementary School modernizations and improvements. G, consider and take action regarding approving the shared services agreement between Alamo College District, Northeast Lakeview College, and Judson Early College Academy. Pull. Item H, consider and take action regarding approving the instructional materials allotment, IMA, and the TEACS certification for the 2021-2022 school year. We will vote on items A through F and H. Is there a motion?
I move we approve items A through F and item H.
And a second.
Second.
We will start with you, Mr. Diaz. Mr. Diaz, what say you?
Rafael Diaz, aye.
Mr. Macias?
Aye.
Ms. Canoyer?
Aye.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Jennifer Rodriguez, aye.
Ms. Eaton?
Aye.
Ms. King?
Shatanya King, aye.
Motion passes unanimously for A through F and H. Item G, I pulled that because, Dr. Ball, I would ask that you give a brief, very brief, summary of the MOU and specifically sections 1 through 3.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. I'm going to ask Ms. Robinson to please do this for me. She works very intricately with our great partnership that we have with the Alamo colleges, and I know that she spends lots of time working with the MOUs. So, Ms. Robinson, if you could, please.
Thank you, Dr. Ball, and thank you, Board. So section 1 through 3, basically, we have a shared agreement between Northeast Lakeview College, Judson ISD, and JECA, Judson Early College Academy. And so basically, it's just saying that we have an agreement to work together to ensure that we have quality education for the kids that are attending JECA. And then section number 2, academic and administrative support, simply indicates that we are supporting our administrators and our staff to make sure that we have a healthy and safe environment for our JECA students. And basically that's overall. And then section number 3, basically it talks about how our freshmen come into JECA. This year we have increased the numbers to 150. Before it had been 125. But because we saw that there was a lot of interest in JECA, we increased it to 150 students. And basically, it just talks about the formality of JECA is open only to the incoming freshmen, unless for some reason we do have military coming in, and if they do have the credentials that they actually were attending an early college, then we will look at their credentials and then allow them to enter JECA.
But for clarification purposes, they must have attended one of our middle schools in 8th grade.
Yes, ma'am. So one of the things that we are asking our community is that we ensure that the JECA students do attend one of our middle schools, and that is part of the qualifications that we have. And that's administratively, that is not part of this particular package.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Does that same rule apply for military PCSing in?
No, ma'am. We always make exceptions for military because kids come in and come out. Basically, you know, they're here one year, not the next. And so anytime that we have military coming in, we always stop and take particular look at their case, individual case, and that is how we accept the kids.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a
My
question.
pleasure.
Oh, yes, go right ahead.
Forgive me, Ms. Robinson, I literally just received my board agenda 2 minutes ago. So I have a question regarding MOU. I don't see anything as I'm perusing through the documents regarding any costs. Are there an increase in any way, shape, or form with forms?
No, actually, one of the things that we managed to work for, and actually we did it last year, before the college used to charge us the regular charge during summer school when our kids had to go back and make up courses. So we came to an understanding that they would continue charging us $100 versus the full tuition that we usually paid. So thanks to their graciousness, we only pay $100 during summer school.
And is that summer school outlined in this MOU?
No, sir, it is not part of that MOU.
So in this MOU doesn't have anything then with a cost increase in any way?
No, sir.
Right.
It's more of the academic and the textbooks and those kinds of things.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And this is the same MOU that we've used
Oh, forever,
for many
ma'am.
years.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will move on to item 7, discussion consideration.
We need to vote on this. Let me remind you that. I move
Thank
that we.
you. Do you have a motion? I second it. Let's vote on item H. Mr. Diaz?
Rafael Diaz, aye.
Mr.
I move we approve item G.
G. Thank you, Ms. Eaton. Mr. Diaz, what say you?
Rafael Diaz, aye.
Mr. Macias?
Yes.
Ms. Canoyer?
Suzanne Canoyer, aye.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Jennifer Rodriguez, aye.
Ms. Eaton?
Aye.
And Ms. King?
Shatanya King, aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Now we'll move on to number 7. Discussion and consideration of action items. Item A is going to be in closed session, so we'll move on to 8. Discussion item reports. A, Superintendent report. Dr. Ball, please.
Yes, we have your construction update that's in your packet, but I'd like to ask Dr. Fields if he has any additional information he'd like to share.
Good evening, Board. Dr. Ball, thank you so much. There is something I want to share with the Board. Everyone here is familiar with, or everyone is familiar with Converse Elementary. It's one of our elementary schools that's under litigation. We don't know when that's going to be finalized. But as you ride by, you guys are aware that you kind of go from a drop of almost 100 feet from the front where 1516 is to the very back where the lowest part is. As you come in and go to the left, there's a wall that sits on the side of that road that maintains the road, the lights, and it's kind of like brick on dirt, like a retaining wall. That's starting to give way with all of the swelling and, you know, from the rain and the snow and all the other stuff. So it's something that's going to need to be replaced immediately, and we'll be back to talk to you about that in the future. I just wanted to let you know that because it's under litigation, we can't wait for all that to finish. We're going to have to move ahead. So that'll be something that we're asking the board to pay attention to in the future. Yes, ma'am?
So, Dr. Fields, that's the side where they started building the subdivision, right?
Exactly. And when I was talking to Ms. Keaton, when they start building that subdivision, if we don't attack that now and build it, we'll be working out of somebody's backyard soon
Yes.
if we don't hurry up and get it done.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. That's it, Dr. Ball. Thank you so much.
Dr. Fields?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Where is it again? When you're driving into Converse Elementary, is it that wall you said on the left?
It's the wall that's on the left. You know where they're building that new housing area over to the left? When you go in, you can kind of go right and go down to the front of the school, and you can go left and kind of drive around the back.
Mm-hmm.
It's as you go left and trying to kind of drive around the back.
So it's not the one that we had problems in the parking lot?
No, sir, it's not. This one's not that geoband deal. This is just brick on dirt that backs up to our property and kind of pushes that road up.
Is that wall doing okay, by the way?
I mean, oh, that one's doing okay, yes, sir.
Okay.
The one that we had to replace before, yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Item 2, Judson ISD leaver profile report.
Yes, board members, if you remember, this item was requested by Mr. Diaz, and Lacey Gosh is going to share this information. So though it is called the leaver profile report, those are the words that we use for our students that leave our system. So that is the information that she will be sharing.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. Appreciate the opportunity to share this information with you tonight. We have compiled the information. I know some information was provided to you back in February, and the information that we're sharing here is as of April, so it's the most up-to-date information that we could pull just based on our student populations and movement within the district. So first off, we wanted to talk just briefly with you about our currently enrolled students and our prior year enrolled students. And based on the information that we have actually, unlike most school districts in the state of Texas, we actually have seen an increase of about 128 students on our overall population. Now, that does not indicate that we are necessarily not losing students to some other public schools or charter schools or other areas within the San Antonio or other areas of Texas. We did add the pre-K3 program this year, which accounts for about a gain of about 900 students across the district, but we also had some additional movement and the school of choice and with some of our distance learning and taking students from other locations made up for that gain. So from that standpoint, in terms of overall enrollment, we are actually up. On a traditional leaver report, the leaver report from the state of Texas deals with looking at students who are 7th through 12th grade who may fail to re-enroll in school, and it's a report that we look at in terms of students who may drop out of school. And so that's the information that we traditionally track in terms of trying to track where our students go. Our leaver codes follow that same process, so the information that I'm sharing with you tonight is based on those specific codes, and I know that you probably have some other questions concerning the specific locations. So we have put some processes into place that I will talk about in the presentation to kind of help us know where our students are going, but in some cases we don't necessarily have all of that specific data. However, with the addition of Frontline being added to our system, we do have the ability to create some local codes. So one thing that we have discovered in this process of answering questions and making sure you have the information that you need, we have some other codes that we will be adding in the next year so that we can begin to track some of the students better to provide you with more clear information. And an example of that would be this last year, we have not tracked our students within the district who chose a school of choice. So if they chose another school within our system, it simply shows that they unenrolled. And so we would want to track that as well as students who come to us from other places. So just to kind of explain that a little bit. So this is our profile for this year in terms of the students that we are able to see where they have gone. This year, district-wide, we have seen an increase of our homeschool students, where we currently have 303 students enrolled in homeschool across the district. That is an increase of about 167 students from the prior school year. We have 103 students enrolled in private schools district-wide. That is an increase of 13 students district-wide. The private school sector is probably the lowest area in which we lose students. We lose students far more to charter and homeschool and other public schools than we do to the private sector. Our charter schools overall were 623 students leaving to go to charter schools, which equates to an addition of 375 more students in 2021 that went to a charter school than did in 2020. The other public school numbers come to 2,593. When we track this, these numbers are a little bit deceiving, and I want to say that we reported the data within this presentation directly. Other public schools also include charter schools. Many people think of charter schools as private schools, but charter schools are actually part of the public school system. So the 623 charters that we are tracking here are included in that 2,593 number. So in essence, we actually had students, we had 623 students this last year that went to a charter school. We actually had 1,970 that went to a traditional public school system. So truthfully, when we run those numbers, we only sent about 21 students more in the 2021 year than the 2020 year to other public schools. And that could be within San Antonio, or those could be students who actually moved. We have to look at comments if we are able to get it, and sometimes people tell us where they are going and sometimes they don't. So overall, we saw an increase in 951 students that left us for these other institutions this year from what we saw in 2020, which we've seen an increase in that statewide simply because of COVID and some of the constraints that families have seen in terms of possibly going home and choosing other options. So I wanted to share the data with you kind of in a visual, just to kind of see it overall. So this is just a visual to kind of exemplify across each campus where our students are and in what type of environment. So overall, we have far more students who are attending charter schools and also other public schools than we do actually attending, which you can see that in the overall numbers as well. But we broke it down by campus here just so you can kind of see a visual. And later in the presentation, we show you these specific numbers. But the red does indicate your homeschool, green for your private schools. And in certain cases, like with JLA, that number is very, very low. We actually only lost one student to another public school system. So there actually is a number there, but it's actually one child for the JLA program. We provided the same look across our middle schools to kind of show you how this looks. One thing that I would like to note is that the middle school numbers in terms of students who are leaving us are much higher than they are once they go to high school. So we typically regain some of those students once it goes to high school. And that's kind of a trend statewide. In many locations, middle schools people pull students from middle schools return back in high schools. We can track this information a little bit better for you with a few more codes, but you will see the middle school numbers being higher than our elementary numbers or our secondary numbers.
Ms.
Yes, sir.
Gosh, excuse me, I'd like to interrupt. Is it all right if we ask questions as
Sure.
you, or would you rather us wait?
No, I'm fine if you want to ask a
Mr.
question
Diaz
as
has
we
a
go.
question for
Yes.
you.
Just to make sure that I don't take anything for granted and understand what I'm looking at, right?
Yes, sir.
Tell me again, what do the bars, are these students that are leaving this specific school? This is the leaver from that campus?
This is the lever from 2021 for that specific campus, yes.
And then the blue, okay, now I see what we're saying.
Yes, so we're trying to show, just kind of give a comparison so you can see how many individual students, and we'll show you the exact number of students over a 3-year period in a later slide, but this is just to kind of give you a visual to show you that we are in fact losing the majority of our students at every level and campuses to charters and other public schools.
Okay, perfect, that's it. I
Yes,
have
sir.
some follow-ups, but I'll wait until the end.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
No problem. And here are our elementary numbers. Again, the trend continues. You will notice that at the middle school level, we had numbers closer to 250 in some of those areas. Once we get to the elementary level, the numbers drop. Our lowest numbers overall are at the high school in terms of losing students. So our elementary numbers fall below the 150 range. I believe a 148 is about as high as it goes there at Candlewood in terms of students leaving the district to go to those other locations. So we just wanted to break that down again to give you that visual overall appearance of where our students are going and which types of environments are attracting our students. Yes, ma'am.
This is kind of a comment, kind of a question, and I don't know. It's an interesting noticing. I'm seeing that Veterans Memorial and Hartman seem to have a much larger percentage of private school than other ones, and I don't know if that's like proximity to a particular campus or if we know why that is. I'm just very curious. Whereas charter seems to be kind of like somewhat more evenly distributed.
Right. I don't know specifically. I know that in that particular area, we do see an uptick in private school enrollments there, and it is confined to that specific area. I know that the Great Hearts Academy is over there, but I believe it is a charter school and not a public school, and not a private school. One of the issues that we have with private school enrollments is really knowing they can tell us the private school, but we don't actually have a way to track which private school that they're going to. We're working on how to better do that, and we have not actually studied the specifics as to that particular area, but it does seem to be confined to that one geographic area. And when we look at private enrollments for one of the elementary schools, I believe it is Hartman. It is very high there, and we actually sat down today and kind of looked at it to try to figure out what is right there by Hartman, that we have so many more students at Hartman that are going to private school than we have at any of our other elementary campuses, and we really couldn't, there's not a particular school in that particular area. I believe there is one, but I don't recall the name, that does exist out there on, right, out there. Right. Yes, but we will definitely find out that information to see if in the Veterans Memorial area, if there is a particular.
And it could be just families that have something in common, and it's like, oh, I'm taking my kid, and that, starts something.
I had a question.
Yes.
This report, I think is very informative and definitely gives us a good trend analysis. We're tracking students who have essentially disenrolled. Is that correct? Have we had any snapshot of talking to those parents or to the guardians directly of what their motive was, why they decided to go homeschool or private or whatnot?
Yes, and actually that's one of the things that when we start to look at the years over time, I think COVID has attributed to some of the movement this year, but we are actually seeing a decline in certain areas of our students leaving us, even though the numbers are up slightly. And part of that is a process that we put into place at all of the campuses, where there is now a 3-step process for when a student unenrolls. So they meet first with the registrar, but they also go through with the questionnaire with the principals. However, that information is housed on the campus because our system doesn't really store that except in comments. So that's one of the areas as we begin to track that information. We have to go in and pull each individual one. And the principals actually have that conversation, and in some cases have been able to retain students through those meetings with parents in an effort, and they've been working very closely with Ms. Garcia's office in the, I forgot, is she counseling? Yeah, the counseling office, and they have developed forms and procedures that the campus principals are implementing in order to try to reduce these numbers, and they have been successful in some areas of retaining some of the students through that process. So we are gathering that information for the purposes of this. That was not something we were able to pull at this time.
So this won't be anywhere in the report?
That specific, to specifically answer that question, no, I don't have that information in this report. This was more to kind of give numbers and some movement, and also to address which potential charter campuses were drawing our students over others, and then to determine if it was a private school, public school, homeschool, to see where some of those trends are. But we will certainly be investigating this going forward as we enhance the process to begin to track that as we move our schools to various different types of academies and whatnot to try to retain our students here.
So, okay. So the information is being captured in some way, shape, or form, and then we could probably get a report on that as well, I suspect. Just a verbatim list, I can tell you what I would expect to see is they're leaving because smaller classroom sizes. They're leaving for more individualized attention. But it would be nice to see what those principals are uncovering now in real time as we're looking at real data. So if we can get that amendment or addition to in a reasonable time, I think that would be very helpful for understanding our strategy. And that way you can answer Ms. Rodriguez's question, point. Was it a click? Did we have 20 parents just pick up and go because they had a network? That would come out in the principal's response for why parents are leaving.
We'll definitely get that information prepared.
Okay, now we will get into some of the numbers, and we're going to, these following slides are going to deal with years in progression. And so you can see how we have compared each year. As you can see, numbers of homeschool have jumped up, but yet from 2019 to 2020, which is where I believe the process began when we started meeting with folks somewhere in there on the campuses to try to reduce the numbers. We were successful in reducing numbers as far as students who enrolled in other public schools, students who enrolled in charter schools, and also students who enrolled in private and homeschool. This year for 2021, obviously there were a myriad of other issues, and so we need to revisit that information to determine if the reasons still exist or if some of the reasons were related to the pandemic. So we will gather that information when we go through that individualized collected data. So here we have our three. So this one is homeschool specifically, and this slide here shows you in red your 2021 school year, your 2020 year in green, and your blue year of 2019. So you can see with some of these conversations where we're working with people and we're working in the process, you can see how our numbers of students who enrolled, even though we have seen an uptick in the homeschool students overall as a district, in some of the locations you can see at Veterans Memorial, the numbers are very consistent over the 3 years. We have not necessarily lost students to homeschool there. We did have an uptick at Wagner, but Judson High School has declined their numbers each year in terms of the number of students who are attending homeschool. JLA and JECA both have 0 homeschoolers this year, and they were both able to reduce that over the time that was there. So those are your specific numbers just for homeschool for our high school campuses. For our middle school campuses, again, we have the same setup with red being 2021, green 2020, and blue 2019, with specific student numbers at each campus for those who are enrolled in homeschools. So you can see when we look at our homeschool numbers, there are certain schools that have higher numbers than others. The numbers for homeschool are relatively low in some cases and somewhat steady. So with Lake Hills, they've been fairly steady with their homeschool students. Metzger has gone up just slightly, and Judson had an increase. We saw a decrease, and then with COVID, we saw the increase again. We did see a jump again at Kitty Hawk of students who were homeschooled, and that may also relate back to your question about the Veterans Memorial area, and that Kitty Hawk is the feeder school for that campus. So that could relate to that as well. And Kirby's numbers have been low for the last multiple consecutive years for homeschool. Yes, ma'am.
For that, can we go back to that?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
For 2021, and even some of 2020, how are we differentiating between the students that are being homeschooled because of COVID and students that are just, like had already been in the program when COVID started and they just continued on with it?
Okay, based on our attendance data that we pull, we don't have a way to determine that. We would only be able to determine that if the parents told us that was why they were pulling the students out.
So that could be one reason why they showed such a big jump in the numbers then?
Yes, ma'am. It could be potentially part of the reason that some people have chosen to homeschool versus, bring students back to school or do online school. Again, when we sit down with the interviews for the folks that principals were able to interview and get that time with, we will collect that data because it's being collected on paper right now. And then in the comments, we're able to pull some comments, but not everyone provides that information because parents do have the opportunity to say, I don't want to share that information with you.
Okay, thank you.
And our elementary campuses. So let me look at this real quick. So on our elementary campuses for our homeschool students, I think I made some notes on the elementary one here. You can see the trend again. You can see our homeschool students at our elementary campuses are relatively low. You will see that Hartman, again, that's one of the reasons we wanted to look at Hartman. So your homeschool numbers for Hartman are higher than all of your other elementary campuses, and you will see that again in on another slide for, I believe it's private schools, so we will look at that as well. So there seems to be an outlier piece there that we definitely want to dive into and provide some additional information, and we will include that with the information that Mr. Macias has requested. So you can see for this year, we do have homeschool students. In some cases, our elementary campuses did not have any homeschool students, so we do have some zeros on here for prior years. And it's a little bit smaller, so I apologize for trying to get you one good, vivid look across the campuses as to how they relate for that, for our homeschool advantage there. On our private school data, here again, we see the uptick there at veterans for the private schools. So for our private schools there that are students that are going there, we'll see that Judson also had 30 back in 2019, and they have steadily declined in the number of students that are attending Judson High School who chose to do private school. JECA has not had any. JLA did have one student who went to private school back in 2019, but we have been able to maintain those numbers down at 0. Wagner does not have any students that are currently enrolled in a private school. So in those cases, again, Veterans Memorial is one particular area that we seem to have an interest in the private and the homeschool area for that particular campus. And here are our numbers for private school for our middle schools. Our middle school numbers are very low. Again, our feeder school into Veterans Memorial is the campus with the most private school. So we see the trend kind of across in those particular areas, and we can begin to focus and provide some additional input as we do some planning and preparation within this next year. And here's the one that I was stating for the last 2 years. You can see that Hartman has had 20 students that did choose a private school, where all of the other numbers are relatively low or they have been at 0. So again, we looked at specifically Hartman, and for that one, we were not able to discern any particular school draw, any particular thing in the particular area. So we will have to go to those individual interview documents to see what it is at that particular campus for that piece, and we will include that in the follow-up information. Okay, so here we are with our charter schools. So as you can see, our charter numbers, which is interesting because you will see a shift in the charter information as well as the other public school information for Veterans Memorial, as opposed to the private school and the homeschooling in that particular area. So we have fewer students attending charters from the veterans area, and our numbers for charters increase at Wagner and Judson as opposed to what we saw on the opposite side for the private and the homeschooling. So those numbers, they fluctuate. They have fluctuated quite a bit. I know we've had some additional charters open in the area, and some of that may be a draw for those pieces. As Ms. Eaton said, we have a few that it is right around the corner from the school. For our middle schools, here again we see larger numbers than we see at our high school, and you will also see this as well, similar to what we saw with the homeschooling. Our middle school numbers are much higher than our elementary numbers, and also our high school numbers in terms of students who are being pulled to go to other locations. So you can see those patterns. This year we have had a particular uptick at every one of our middle schools in terms of attending charters as opposed to previous years. And our charter information for our elementary campuses. So here you can see our numbers are much lower. We have had some upticks, such as at Candlewood and Copperfield, and also Rolling Meadows, which is out in that particular area for schools who are attracting, or our students are being attracted by those charter campuses. So, and you can see in some cases we had 0 students in the past, and our numbers remain relatively low. However, in 2021, we did see an uptick in students who were going to charter campuses from our elementary schools. So this is definitely something we want to keep a watch on. Other public schools, again, I wanted to reiterate with you that these numbers here, so the 189 students that are in other public schools from Judson High School, that includes the students who have gone to the charter schools. So that number is actually, we have 23 students who are going to public schools that are non-charters for 2021. Wagner has 36 students who went to other public schools that are non-charters, and Veterans Memorial actually has 10 students that are going to other public schools. So the other public schools does include the numbers for the charter information. This is how it's reported to the state. So we wanted to report this information to you, but I did want to provide that information so that you were aware that those numbers were included. Our other public school information for our middle schools, again, so at Metzger we actually have 78 students who are going to non-charter public schools. We have 40 at Judson Middle School that are going to non-charter other public schools. And we have 46 at Kirby, and 53 at Kitty Hawk, and 36 at Woodlake Hills, to give you those numbers of comparison where those are embedded in there.
Can I ask a quick question about this section?
Yes.
We allowed, as of this year, students to choose, or families to choose within the district. Is this capturing, like, say I decided to move from like Kirby to Judson Middle School, is that going to count against Kirby? Or
if a parent only told us they were unenrolling to enroll in another public school and we did not catch it, yes ma'am, it would be included in that. That's one of the reasons as we move into next year with the school of choice that we've learned this year, we need to add another local code so that if a student says I'm enrolling to another public school, and we will then, that will be a follow-up question on the questionnaire, are you enrolling in another Judson ISD public school, so that we can track that. Yes ma'am.
So when a child is transferred out of a school to go somewhere else, how are the records handled? Do the school that is gaining that child, do they then request the records from Judson, or is the parent allowed to hand carry their records with them?
Most of the time they're requested through a system called CHEREX, so it's done electronically and it's requested from the registrar.
So then we can see?
We could see it, yes ma'am. Usually when the process is done, when a student unenrolls, the parent may call, we will unenroll the child, they may not give us that information, and that's when it's tracked at that particular point. Or if they say we're unenrolling in your school and we're going to enroll in another public school, the clerk may mark that. The clerk may not go back later to go and make that correction. So for me to tell you that the data is perfectly clean, that none of those students might include one of our school of choice, would not be an accurate statement, because I cannot confirm for sure that there aren't any of those school of choice students included in here. we would want to make sure we could track that a little bit better before I affirmatively told you that does not include any of those students, because there is a possibility that it could.
Okay, I understand that. And then another thing too that I've noticed, and Dr. Ball, I think that card that I gave you the other day was was it pre-K or K to 8? Pre-K to 8. I've noticed that quite a few of the charter schools that are surrounding us now, they are only doing pre-K or kinder to 8 or 6. So then we get them back after they've spent that portion in a charter school or a private school, well, mostly a charter school, and then they come back to the district.
Yes, ma'am. That is an accurate statement. That is something that you will see in other, kind of across the state. A lot of times people do put their children in other schools from that pre-K 8, whether it be a charter or a private school or homeschool, and then often they're looking for that high school transitional experience for various reasons. And so you typically see your numbers lower at your high schools than you do at your other campuses.
Thank you, ma'am.
And for our public school view for our elementary campuses, there's a couple of interesting things here. Our campuses that have the highest number of students, and because the charter numbers are embedded in here, I wanted to highlight this a little bit differently rather than just telling you the numbers. The campuses that had 20 or more students who went to other public schools were Candlewood, Copperfield, Masters, and Rolling Meadows. And what's interesting is several years ago, in terms of this, we had multiple campuses that had 2 or fewer students who actually attended another campus, who actually went to another public school. So some of these numbers here, for example, in 2019, Candlewood, Converse, Coronado, Crestview, Escondido, Millers Point, Olympia, Salinas, Rolling Meadows, Paschal, and Woodlake and Wortham Hills did not have any students reported as going to those other locations. They were all going to charter schools. So some of these numbers, so you can see as these kind of break out, I wanted to look at this one a little bit differently because when you see Candlewood with 108 students going to other public schools, 33 of those are actually going to non-charter public schools. So, but wanted to highlight those numbers there that actually are showing the largest numbers. So our largest movers for 2021 are Candlewood, Copperfield, Masters, and Rolling Meadows.
I don't need to see a report about this, but a suggestion might be to look at what grade level they're leaving, because a lot of these charter schools start middle school at 5th grade. And a lot of parents are afraid about like what's going to happen to my kid at middle school. And so, but they know if they wait until 6th grade, their kid will be on a waiting list. Whereas if they do move in 5th grade, and so I would guess that's a major turning point in families' decision making as the transition from 4th to 5th grade.
Yes, ma'am, I would agree with that. We did not pull the data by grade level. We simply pulled the data as a whole to provide the 3-year comparison. But that is something that we do see typically across the state, that middle school numbers are typically higher. People do tend to pull students at that particular level and again, return later. So, yes, ma'am. Okay. And then finally, just to kind of close out, just to let you know, I talked about this briefly. We are having parent meetings when the parents agree to come back and meet with us. So the principals are reaching out, trying to follow with that 3-step process in terms of meeting with the registrar, taking that time to talk to the counselor, and then meeting with the principal through an exit survey or withdrawal survey. Again, some parents may choose not to do that and complete that survey, but we will gather that information and gather those surveys so that we can provide you with a more detailed report on the reasons why. We are looking at expansion of programming as well as tracking our school of choice. I know one of the questions might be which charter schools, or is there a particular type of school that is drawing our students? Doing a couple of years of comparison, the IDEA academies or the IDEA schools are the schools that are pulling the majority of our students into the charters. They are generally just your general charter school. They don't have a particular. The ones that we don't have the information as to which IDEA school, because most of the time people just say IDEA. And that's the only information, and we went through and actually pulled individual comments from those charter students and looked through the comments that were entered. So we see the Idea Academy, specifically the one at Walsham, Judson, and then the brand new one at Converse. So there were a few that we could actually pull those, and those are the 3 that were most commonly mentioned of the Idea Academies. The second draw was Great Hills, which is out in the Rolling Meadows. And then they had more than, that one jumped quite a bit, at Rolling Meadows from 2020 to 2021. The third charter school drawing our students is the George Gervin Academy, and the fourth is the School of Science and Technology. So those are the top charters that are actually pulling, 20 to 30 students at a time from each one of our systems. So we were able to pull that from the comments to give you a little bit better idea about the charter academies. I don't have specifics on the other public schools. Some are here within San Antonio, and some may be just students who moved away. Yes, ma'am.
What did you say before the George Gervin Academy, right after Idea?
The Great Hearts.
Great Hearts.
Great Hearts. I may have said Great Hills, but it's Great Hearts. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Gosh.
You're welcome.
I don't think that Mr. Macias has had the opportunity to meet Ms. Gosh, so I should have said that at the beginning, but Lacey Gosh is our Assistant Superintendent for Technology.
All right, moving on to item 3, discuss the Director of Equity and Director of Leadership Development. Dr. Ball?
Yes. So some of this information that you'll hear about comes from our work that we started almost 2 years ago with Holdsworth. So Holdsworth has been a great partner with us in helping us look critically at areas of need, helping us look at data. So you'll have some of that information tonight presented by Ms. Robinson.
Good evening again. And so just like Dr. Ball was saying, that these are the critical areas of growth that were identified through the Holdsworth data. As you will know, that we are well invested in Holdsworth and have been for almost 2 years. And so we take, to us, feedback is a gift, and Holdsworth has given us the gift of the data and identifying some areas of need. And so with that, let me go to the next slide. And so with that, despite having a challenging year, we have seen significant improvements in staff engagement. So when we look at the staff engagement, we actually look at 4 particular themes that we worked on. What we're looking at right here is the data from 2019 and the data that we collected for 2021. So as you can see that in every single area we have had growth, but we really want to focus on the assistant principal and the principal. Those are the areas that we really would like to focus on. So the first theme is the basic needs, and basically the questions or the statements that are on this particular questionnaire, it's saying that, do I have the tools and resources needed to do my job well? And so notice that our assistant principals and our principals, and that's kind of what we have focused on, is that we have had, good growth, over 10% there, from 60 to 70%, from 57 to 71% on our principal ones. I'm satisfied with the information I receive about what is going on in our district. And again, you'll see the growth that is also there. And again, we're focusing on the assistant principal and the principal. On the theme of value and recognition, my work is valued by this district. You will see again that there's an increase, and in my district, the teams who perform well are recognized. And I think that we've done a good job in recognizing our staff and just honoring the work that people have done. On the third theme is personal growth, and so it says, I received what I need to learn and to grow professionally. And again, there is an increase. It's not where we want to be, but definitely it is a beginning. My district supports me to take risk and to try new things. And again, you'll be able to see that there is a growth, not so much in the assistant principal, but you'll see it in the principal. And so I think in this pandemic time, people are allowed to take the risk, and so we applauded some of the things. And I'll give you the great example of Scott Wilson with starting, the academy, the STEAM Academy. I'll give you the example of Converse that's starting with a year round. And so we're getting better. We're just not where we want to be. The theme of district direction. So the district leadership has communicated a vision of the future that motivates me. And again, you'll see that there's an increase there as well. And I would recommend the school district to friends as a great place to work. And again, we see the increase there. Our central office senior leaders live by the values of this district. And again, you'll see that we are living by, the key, which is the one, unlock the leader in you. And so those are beginning steps for us. And then the last one is I think the district is doing a good job of retaining its most talented staff. And there you will see an increase, but that is our concern. And so we really need to look at how can we retain our staff? How can we build capacity within our staff? And that is one of our major concerns that not only we have identified, but that Holsworth has pointed out to us.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes, sir.
Just for my sake, the years here, is it 2018, is it fiscal year or calendar year we're looking at?
It's calendar year, sir.
Okay, so it's calendar, so 2021 would be incomplete then, I suspect?
So 2021 is this year, so
Yeah.
we actually took the survey already this year.
Okay.
So as you can see from our new leadership definition, and as you will know, on our key, there's 3 things that we live by, and that is we treat everyone well, we plan for success, and we invest in people. And so knowing that leadership definition, my district has clearly defined the characteristics of great leadership. Again, you're going to notice that we have made an impact in trying to ensure that our vision and our values of the key are embedded with our leadership. I understand how my district definition of great leadership applies to my role, and again, you're going to see that high interest, that high increase. And then the last one is I understand how to use my district leadership definition to provide feedback and coaching to my direct reports. And that one also has an increase, but notice that we also have an area of growth there, especially with our assistant principals. Okay. So we have also identified 2 critical areas of growth at Judson ISD, and we are proposing 2 new roles to lead our improvements that Holsworth has basically told us we need to stop and look, and we need to address those critical areas. So the first one is the Director of Equity, and then the second one is the Director of Leadership Development. And so before we look at the roles in detail, let's look at the opportunities that these 2 roles will address. So the first thing we're looking at is equity. So you will soon see that we are conducting an external comprehensive equity audit. We honestly feel that in order for us to determine where are the areas of need, we actually need to we need to go through an audit so we can identify the areas that we need to improve on. We know that that there are inequities throughout the school district, and it's time for us to remedy those particular inequities. This study is going to allow us to identify particularly the areas that we will need to grow in. Okay, here we go. So the first one, as you all will know, COVID-19, we have all lived it, the pandemic. It has hit our most vulnerable students and the hardest, and it keeps continuing to widen the equity gaps between our most advanced students and, of course, the most disadvantaged students. And that is our concern. We understand and realize that gaps need to be closed, but we need to understand the how and the why. So the second item that we need to look at is that though only 22% of our students are identified as Black or as African American, 38% of our disciplinary actions are against Blacks or African American students. So that is an area we need to look at as well. Though 58% of our students are identified as Latino or Hispanic, only 27% of our teachers are Hispanic, 38% of our APs are Hispanic, and 28% of our principals are Hispanic.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What percentage of our teachers are Black or African American?
I don't have it with me, ma'am, but I will let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
In our last leadership course, they did a whole session on the disciplinary action and how it affects students of color.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
some good information came out of that.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And those are the things that we really need to take at heart and understand. Okay, so this is what we're seeing. How is it that we can stop what we have and make improvements? And the last bullet that I do want to talk about is that our economically disadvantaged students, 70% of our students are economically disadvantaged, but only 49 are enrolled in advanced programs. And we feel that that's an area that we truly need to address to offer opportunities for all students. The second role that we have is leadership. And so our partnership with Holsworth Center has helped us to identify the critical needs of regarding school leadership. So one of the things that we started to look at, and we've been looking at this for a while, we need to actively plan for vacancies and build a strong, diverse internal bench. It's kind of like baseball. You know what? If you want to play in the majors, the first thing you got to do is you got to play in AAA, A ball. And so we have to make sure that the people that we put in those leadership roles are ready and prepared to take the leadership roles. So through a 5-year average that we looked at, it suggests that we need 3 to 5 new principals and 5 to 7 new APs every year. We don't have that robust system to identify and to track the high potential leaders that we can build internally in our district. The other thing is that through this survey that our principals and APs took, one of the statements that was included on there, it says, in my district, leaders with the high potentials are identified early and move quickly into positions that will develop their capacity. As you can see, 53 out of 100 basically said, hey, we're not doing that. We're not building our capacity. We're not moving our most identified leaders into those particular things because we're not building the capacity. And the AP was at 50%. One of the things that I do want you to look at is that there is an increase because before it was 36% for the principals and 40% for the APs. We have seen an increase, but we are nowhere close to where we need to be. We also need an intensive support system for our newest principals. And so I can tell you that being a seasoned principal, I remember my first year of being a principal, there's no support. You go in there, it's a sink or swim situations, and that's what we want to avoid. We want to be able to build capacity for our principals. So here, in this statement right here, in my district, the onboarding process is designed to support new principals as they transition to the principalship for the first time. So you can see that there is an increase and an improvement from 32% in 2019 to now 53%. But again, we don't have that supporting system to be able to build the capacity and build the support and the coaching needs that we need for our principals. And then principals with 1 and 2 years tenure agree that 55% with this statement. I receive coaching on how to grow my leadership skills. And so even though senior staff may go out there and try to meet and coach the principals, it is not enough. We really truly need a person to help us to coach those principals and ensure that we are building the capacity so that they in turn can build strong leaders in their campuses as well.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes, ma'am.
So is it possible for us to have a pathway to, let's say, principalship? And if you're on that path, the summer before, you could potentially be appointed to a position that would be the next position for you. The summer before that, we as a district offer some type of academy training for 3 or 4 weeks.
And
where
Ms.
we just
Robbins,
spend that time.
I was just going to ask Ms. Robinson if she wouldn't mind interjecting a little bit about the program we have, our JLI and JP3.
So we do have 2 programs at Judson ISD. The first one is the JLI program. And basically what we do is that we go out and we look between our staff, we look for people that are wanting to move into leadership positions. And so we work with them throughout the whole entire year, and we literally, we talk to them about, budgets, we talk to them about staff development, about leadership capacity. And so we give them different opportunities, and part of the learning is that they have to do a little project for us. And I'll give you the instance that right now I have 2 people that are working with me on the Summer Adventure Club. And so basically they come in, they work with me, I guide them through it, but it's limited to what they're doing. So we do have that, the JLI program. The other one that we're really proud of and we're proud of building is the JP3. So through Holsworth, we identified 3 individuals in the district that are in leadership positions right now. There are assistant principals. And so they are wanting and seeking to be principals or directors. And so we're taking those individuals and we're taking them through a deep dive of what is it to be truly a principal. And so we again, take them through different staff development where we bring in speakers, we have them talk about those leadership roles. We look at data, we look at, okay, what are some processes and things that we can do in order to improve? But that's 3 principles. And so we want to be able to open it up even more so that when it comes time to hire, we're able to have people of capacity to go into those leadership roles. And yes, ma'am. So we want to invest in ourselves.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes,
On a
sir.
follow-up to that remark regarding the professional development, the leadership organizations that we have, we've had that for a number of years, right? It's been around for a little while, right?
But it has been revamped since we entered Holsworth.
Okay, so Holdsworth was the force for revamping it, revising the
Yes,
the
sir.
effort? Okay, and a lot of this stuff, I can tell you, I've heard it. We've talked about it before. Marco has presented on some of these issues in terms of staff development, professional development. And so are we looking at those past practices to see what didn't work? Because when we get to the recommendation for these 2 positions, I'm going to want to know how we were executing them before, because we were doing pieces of this already. It just was a matter of something didn't hit. And so I'm curious to learn more about that as we go through this presentation. Not today. I'm certain you're not ready for that today. But to determine that, what our practices were, because again, I know, I've heard this. This is very, very important stuff, but it just didn't work. And so under your leadership, Dr. Ball, I'm hopeful that we can finally make this click with Holdsworth. And then my last question, is Holdsworth going to pay for these new positions?
No, sir.
Okay,
It'll
okay.
come out of our budget.
So we'll be looking
Yes.
very hard at that. Thank you.
No, absolutely. And so when we're looking at the Director of Equity, we need to focus on the entire system, not just, okay, is it the hiring practices, is it discipline? We need to look at programs across the board. We need to look at staffing. We need to look at services that we're providing for the kids. And again, the audit will be able to tell us those particular needs that we need to address. So we are going to address the findings based on the external equity audit that we will be conducting. The other one is that...
I'm sorry, Ms. Robinson, but who are we going to get to do the audit?
So right now, ma'am, we are looking for...
We put out the RFQ, request for qualifications, and we're getting proposals. So right now, we just have that information. I had shared in the last Friday notes all the items that we're looking for somebody to come in and be able to do. So at this time, we don't know yet because we're still gathering the proposals for that.
Okay. And to piggyback on what Mr. Macias was just saying, you know, I would just like to see the program work in a way that when we have our own people, and Dr. Ball, this is something that we've discussed about promoting from within, when we have our own people apply for a job that comes open and then, you know, they don't meet the standard, you know, things like that are really confusing to me because you've been there here, you've been doing the job all along, but you can't interview for the next step. And that's a very difficult pill to swallow. So I hope that part of this new program has a way of filtering those people out or offering them the help that they need so that they can qualify for the next level.
And Ms. Eden, let me tell you that It is extremely targeted, and it all goes back to the key. So I know that you all have a key in front of y'all, and if you turn the key over, you're going to see the characteristics and the skills that we're expecting from our leaders. And so it's not just about, hey, we're using three phrases to just basically drive. It's not only that, but it's the meat behind the three phrases. So when we say treat each other well, okay, what does that mean and what does it look like? Exactly. And so if you'll turn your key over that you have right there in front of you, you will see all the characteristics that we are looking in our leaders. And so that is the development that we're going to fall upon.
But Ms. Robinson,
Yes, ma'am.
before you continue, I'd like to remind the board that what this is about is it's about getting better, because I do believe that we already do this. I'd like to remind the board about the two last hires, assistant superintendent and executive director. They were from within, because I do believe that our people have the capacity, and we have amazing people. During closed session, you'll hear about another recommendation, and she is certainly also from within. But we don't ever want to just stay stagnant and say, this is good enough. It's about continuing to do these things to get better. But I certainly want it to be known that we have a lot of people in our system that do meet these qualifications, and that's why they are being selected.
Thank you, Dr. Ball. So on the Director of Equity, the next bullet is we'll work with various central office and campus staff to develop and monitor plans for improvement. And so we don't want to, just like Dr. Ball says, stay stagnant. We want to continuously improve and get better. We want to support the collection, the monitoring, reporting of critical data related to equity. And so again, based on what the audit says, then those are the things that we will start collecting and start monitoring and making sure that we are making progress on this area. And then the last thing, of course, is we'll support the Deputy Superintendent of Staff to enhance our equitable hiring practices and strong talent management. Now, when we look at the Director of Leadership Development, we're going to focus on our campus leaders. We want to provide support central office and campus leadership to identify and develop a diverse pool of high potential leaders. So we want to be able to invest in our people and build capacity from within. Okay. We'll onboard, coach, and support our newest principals, and we'll support the growth of experienced principals. And that's one of the areas that I tell you right now, a lot of our principals go into a sink and swim situation, and we don't want that to happen. We want to be able to not only provide support for our principals, but our assistant principals that are walking into those leadership roles as well. And we want to be able to coach them. We want to be able to tell them, hey, these are the things that we're seeing that you might want to improve. And again, feedback is a gift. We want to support, again, the Deputy Superintendent of Staff to ensure that our equitable hiring and practices and that we have a strong management, a strong talent management. We want to be able to build the capacity within the leaders that we have within our system. So this is, to me, is one of the most powerful slides that you will see. This is how we looked at Holsworth, helped us to build this vision and to identify the leadership definition. And so again, I go back to unlock the leader in you. So we treat everyone well, building a culture of respect, building a community of service. We plan for success. We build a shared vision. We build systematic practices. We build a roadmap for success. And then we invest in people. And this is what this is all about, investing in people, building capacity, and building a growth mindset. So what we did is that we looked at the key, we looked at what are the things that are the most important skills and characteristic traits that we're looking in these individuals. And for right now, we're looking at the Director of Equity. So these are the leadership behaviors that we're looking to be aligned with our Judson ISD leadership definition. So the first one that we look at is, you'll notice that we have two of them that have stars, and those are the non-negotiable behaviors. So when we look for this person, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for building a culture of respect that values diversity, that recognizes and respects the values and differences in the diversity within the district, that we confront bias, that we work to eliminate the bias the deficient-based mindsets associated with race, with SES, with disabilities, with gender and sexual orientation. And last but not least, advances equity, ensures that students and staff are treated equitable with an understanding of content. The second one is to build a shared vision, to develop a vision that engages teams in the development of a shared vision, that shares ownership, that builds collaboration, ownership and shared input into the decision-making process. We want to make sure that this person is able to build systemic practices to continuously improve by evaluating current systems or processes, by gathering the available data sources, including stakeholder input, and revising systems and processes or practice. And then we want to make sure that we have built a roadmap for success, that we set goals collaboratively and they're clearly defined, that we make plans and we create alignments to the plans to accomplish the goal. And most importantly, that we monitor progress, because without monitoring, then we have nothing. So we need to establish that there's clear processes to track student progress. We need to build capacity, develop others, provide development opportunities to support the goals and the vision. And last but not least is to build a community in service to ensure safety, build and maintain a safe, caring, and healthy school environment for students, and is approachable. It's approachable, it's accessible and welcoming to the students, our families, and our staff. And this to us was very important because we're actually aligning it to to our leadership definition, and this is how it defines who we are and what we're looking on this individual. And so I'm going to look at the core responsibilities. We're going to address the external audits and the recommendations. So once we take a look at, okay, what are we looking at? Are we looking at family engagement, at discipline, school enrollment, special and advanced programs? What is it that we're looking at? Are collectively developing a vision for equitable education in Judson ISD? Are we supporting the staff and the board to identify the areas and the priorities of improvement that in regards to equity? Are we going to work with other leaders to develop measurable goals and plans to make meaningful progress? So this person will work as a superintendent with senior staff and department heads and principals to develop plans on how to achieve Judson's vision for equity and how to implement recommendations from that external audit. And most importantly, I go back to monitoring. Monitor progress and support continuous improvement. Ensure that we identify the data to monitor that related to equity, and most importantly, the data to let us know that we have to make improvements, and provide periodic updates to senior staff and to the board. So these are some of the responsibilities that we have identified for this particular job. The next one is the Director of Leadership Development. And so in order for us to develop capacity within our school district, leadership behaviors that we're looking at, the key on unlocking the leader in you, and we're aligning it again to the definition. So again, I'm going to point out there are two non-negotiable behaviors. The first one is to build a culture of respect that, again, values diversity, recognizes, respects, and values the differences and diversities, that we confront bias, that we work to eliminate the bias, the deficit, based mindsets associated with race, with SES, with disabilities, with gender and sexual orientation. I'm going to jump to build capacity way at the bottom, because that is one of the non-negotiables. To build capacity, to develop others, that provides development opportunities to support goals and the vision. Coaches, support others with coaching that is focused on growth and that provides feedback, that supports that particular growth. Going up to the top is build a road of success, is accountable, develops a culture of responsibility and holding oneself accountable. We build systemic practices, continuously improves, evaluating current systems or processes by gathering available data sources, including stakeholder input, and revising systems or processes and practices. And last but not least, builds a community of service. We want to be able to serve others, to demonstrate a desire to help others and to serve others. So those are basically the characteristics that we're looking on this particular person for the Director of Leadership. So this kind of identifies the core responsibilities for the Director of Leadership Development. So the first one is to enable high potential leaders. So we want to make sure that, and this is where Dr. Ball was talking about overseeing the functions of JP3 and the JLI cohort programs, including directing and managing the leadership cohort process. We want to make sure that we analyze, that we collect, analyze, and maintain the data to ensure that we have targeted leadership development. And that is very important. We need to target what exactly our individuals need in order for them to grow, career and development plans, to identify those potential leaders to lead our campuses. And then again, to support the principals and others who manage individuals. And we want to make sure that not only do we provide coaching opportunities for them and through their job-embedded development, but we also allow them to allow others to grow as well. We want to make sure that we provide coaching for our 1st through 3-year principals. We want to ensure that there's leadership level positions for onboarding to make sure that our principals, our young principals, are being successful at their campuses. We want to make sure that we provide those coaching opportunities. I cannot tell you how important coaching is. And then the last one is to coordinate leadership development for all leaders. So we want to make sure that we coordinate leadership PD opportunities in conjunction with other offices to ensure that leaders at various levels have access to ongoing leadership development opportunities. So our principals are telling us, hey, we need leadership opportunities. We need to be able to grow. We want to be able to provide them those opportunities. That basically concludes my presentation for tonight. If anybody has any questions.
You, Dr. Ball. I'm going back to page 5. It is. I want to go back to page 5 where you began talking about equity and the specifics that are given for the Hispanic population.
Yes.
And the socioeconomic disadvantaged population.
Yes.
Would you please give those same specifics to the African American?
Yes. We'll get, I don't have them, but of
I
course
know,
I'll,
I'm asking, would you,
yes,
would you
absolutely.
please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. That's the only question I have, Ms. Robinson.
Yes, ma'am. We will definitely do that.
And Ms. Canoyer, did you have a question?
I didn't have necessarily a question. I did want to address this. We've been doing a lot of this along the way, but it's been in bits and pieces, and this person does this part, and this person does that part, but they've been doing it on top of a full-time job that they already have. And so if we truly value improving equity and identifying the potential leaders in our district and support all that, I think that we should invest in a person who directly is in charge of that, and that is their sole responsibility. And that way we can invest what we know will work to lift those up. So I would be in support of you bringing this to us for approval. And I just wanted to say that because I know, having been in the district for so long, somebody does this, somebody does that, somebody does that. They're not necessarily communicating with all the stakeholders. And we can do it better by having somebody who truly is in charge, and that's their job.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Oh, yes, thank you. I had a thought and a question. So, like Ms. Canoyer, I see the need and fully support these two positions. I think particularly for the equity one, again, it lives in many different places. People have the mindset, but having somebody really driving that work will help us live into the intentions that we've set out, both as a board and as a district, around equitable practices for all of our students. And I think similarly with leadership, it is hard to be in the first couple of years of any role, particularly a role like a principal where you have so much responsibility. And so providing an extra layer of support for them in those first critical years so they can be successful is very, very important. My question is, and this might not be fleshed out quite yet, but for the equity position, I'd be curious to know who we would foresee that person reporting to, because I would hate to put them in a position, it's a director role, if it was me, I might push to make it an executive director or an assistant superintendent or an officer kind of thing, but I understand that would be more and more expensive, but I would want that person to be positioned with a manager who is a champion and has the positional power to really make sure that that work is moving forward. So.
Right. So right now, we just wanted to provide this information. We thought this was already a lot. So we're going to continue to work on this, and then we could bring that kind of additional information with a job description and things like that.
Thank you. Yeah, I did. I realized in the course of the presentation we weren't quite there yet, but I think that I wanted to still say that. So thank you.
Well, Dr. Ball, I do appreciate you mentioning that as well, and since we're just talking about our feelings and thoughts right now, because you still have work to do to bring this to us formally, when it is brought to the board, include some sort of metric, because there has to be some validation on what their value is that they're bringing, and to the point where if we've done and known all this all along and we just haven't brought it together, and once we understand why it didn't work in the past, find out what the measurability for performance would be for these positions to ensure that we're getting the work that we need from them. And with even a caveat of having a short timeline, 3 years or whatnot, what I want to avoid is paying into a position for the next 5 or 10 years and we haven't seen the results that we're looking for. And that's important. So I'm looking forward to more conversation on this.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Mr. Diaz.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to speak specifically to the diversity officer. So I've worked with an organization called CEO Action for Diversity and Inclusion. It is basically a nonprofit that was formed, when I say the first company was Adobe, and then the CEO from that organization challenged a bunch of other CEOs to start actually looking at diversity and inclusion practices in-house. A lot of these companies in Fortune 500 especially didn't really have that. They didn't invest in it. And the unfortunate part was when they did invest in those things, they were looking for immediate ROI. And that sends the wrong message. Because when you talk about diversity and inclusion and unlocking the key to making people feel comfortable and safe and exploring all of the unconscious biases in the system, that takes time. So I want us to be careful about trying to distill things down to data only, because there's a qualitative and a quantitative aspect to what we do because we work with humans, with children, with learners of all ages. So, keep that in mind while, especially for that sensitive of a topic, I fully support it obviously because it aligns to the work that I do. The other thing to note is, and it's actually is also true of the other leadership position. Let's think outside the box, and we did that whenever we selected Leadership ISD to provide us the training. We thought to ourselves, we have to do training annually. We always get it from a source or two sources. However, if we want to do extraordinary things and reimagine the experience, we have to reimagine the training that we get. Mm-hmm. So, let's step into the discomfort of it all, ensuring that we can kind of find discovery in those unconscious biases or explore the things that we didn't know. Let's not take those things for granted. But CEO Action for Diversity and Inclusion, their website actually has all of the organizations that have signed up, and those organizations actually allocated full-time employees to be fellows, so paid exclusively to do this. And they have actually a catalog of a number of different programs by company on what they do, why they do it, and how those things are going, in order to learn from their achievements, but also obviously from their deficiencies or their learnings. So I just provide that as a thought.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I just would, excuse me, I want to ask Mr. Diaz, did you say CEO Action and Diversity?
CEO Action for Diversity and Inclusion.
Action for Diversity and Inclusion. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else? Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Moving on to 8A4, Go Public Update. Dr. Ball, do we have that update tonight?
No, ma'am. The individual that was going to come and present this update got sick, so she was not able
Okay.
to attend.
Item 5, discuss Adventure Club. Ms. Eaton.
Yes, Ms. Eaton had asked for some information, so Ms. Robinson prepared a PowerPoint to share.
It's a Ms. Robinson night. So we're looking at Adventure Club and specifically for summer camp, okay? So we kind of build a little theme into the summer camp, and we're doing fun at the beach. And so we're going to try to basically surround everything in our learning and what we do with fun at the beach. And so here's some of the just regular information that is out there right now. So we have 2 summer sessions. The first session is running from June the 7th to July the 12th, and it does run from Monday through Friday. Session number 2 comes from starts on July the 12th and goes all the way to July the 30th, and again, Monday through Friday. The summer camp time and the costs, we open our doors at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we close our doors at 6 p.m. The charge per session is $750 per student. We also have another separate program, and that program is after summer school care. So the kids get out of summer school around 2:30 in the afternoon, and so sometimes they need after school care. So we're running a separate program for them inclusively with the summer Adventure Club, and so that program will run from 2:30 in the afternoon till 6 o'clock at night, and that program will cost $255 per session. So we're hosting it in 3 different campuses, and so we identified a north, a middle, and a south. So Millers Point Elementary, we're looking at approximately 50 students from kinder to 5th grade. Rolling Meadows Elementary, we're looking at 75 students from kinder to 5th grade. And Hartman Elementary, we're looking at 50 students from kinder to 5th grade. This is a sample daily schedule. It's not, and I'll just leave it at that. So we start at 7 o'clock, and the students arrival, and they have breakfast with us. We do provide breakfast for them. From 8 to 9 o'clock, we have social and emotional check-in. We have exercise time, restroom, and then rehydrate, so they are ready to come back into the classroom. The reason why we're doing it early in the morning is because of our summer heat in Texas, and so we want to be able to get the kids out and about early in the morning, so make sure that the weather is good, the temperature is good for them. Around 9 o'clock to 10:30, we're actually doing a reading enrichment program for them. From 10:30 to 11:30, we're doing a math enrichment. Then we will go to lunch from 11:30 to 12. And then we start from 12 to 12:30 as independent reading for the kids. And then from 12:30 to 2:30, we're doing actually club time, okay? We do have snacks from 2:30 to 2:45 because that's what time the after-school kids come out, and so we want to be able to provide them a snack because it is a very long day. We do from 2:45 to 3:45, we will have brain breaks, and the kids will be able to do see some board games that we have purchased. And then from 3:45 to 4 o'clock, again, they'll take a little restroom break and then a rehydrate as well. From 4 to 4:45, we also built in a read aloud. We're going to model a reader's theater. We're going to focus on vocabulary comprehension and listening skills at that time. And then from 4:45 to 6 o'clock, the sample for right now says movie and cleanup, and that'll change because it'll be either an activity that we do with a read aloud, it could be a movie, it could be that we take the kids outside for a little while, it could be that we use, again, some computer time for them. So it'll depend on the rotation and on the day, okay? So let me give you an example of reading time and what we're doing during reading time. So we're going to start with a whole group reading. We're going to read books about the beach, the sea creatures, family vacations, etc. We're going to provide them a phonics lesson, a vocabulary lesson as well, and then we're going to have centers of rotations. We're going to look at a writing connection, an art connection, comprehension, doing foldables, and then technology, we're going to be using Imagine Learning and Amplify. Okay. This is a sample reading lesson that we will have. So I just grabbed the first one, week number 1. So they will be reading A Beach Tale. We're providing the book. They're going to literally be looking at one who, what, when, where foldables, and basically the kids will be creating either some kind of a 3D foldable so that we try to give them something for them to do with their hands and not just paper, pencil type of activity, okay? So notice that there are scissors for the foldables and then a writing utensil. In technology, the students will use their Chromebooks, and so the kids will have their Chromebooks available so they can work on again, Imagine Reading and Amplify. The vocabulary and the phonics, they're going to do this I have, who has card activity. So they're going to need to cut and staple for the lower grades beforehand, and then they'll do a printed handout, and then they'll cut and paste and do those things as well. We do have a writing connection, so construction paper, they're going to work on an acrostic poem. And then we're going to do an art activity. They're going to do something with Cheerios, with construction paper, glue, and crayons. And that's a sample lesson. During math time, again, we're going to look at Imagine Learning. We're going to look at Imagine Learning math. We are going to work on math facts, and we'll also try to use Prodigy as well. So then we come to club time, and this is the fun time for the kids. So we have different clubs that the kids can join. They'll have a choice of nature, science, art, drama. And at Miller's Point, we do have foreign language. Someone will be teaching us a Spanish class at Miller's Point. And that'll be in the afternoon. We do have some possible field trips. I have not locked them in, so that's why I'm calling them possible, because I'm actually working on Friday tomorrow with my two JLI persons, because I gave them the task of trying to find locations and prices and those kinds of things. So I won't know until tomorrow. So some things that we kind of talked about was the Whitty Museum, the Museum, and then for session number 2, we are looking at SeaWorld. Okay. And staff training. So when we look at staff training, each campus principal from those 3 schools will schedule training for their staff on explaining to them the program structure, how we're doing things, the working hours, the campus processes and procedures, the expectations, and they're going to review the lessons in the material boxes. So we are actually building boxes for the teachers and for the aides, so they literally just come in, here's your box, this is exactly what you need to teach, and here are all the activities and all the materials that you need in order to do the lesson for the week, okay? All staff will receive CPR training on June the 4th, and we have already scheduled that. So when we look at student to staff ratio, we are looking at 10 to 12 per aide. Hopefully we can stay within the 10. Due to the 12-hour shifts, we broke it up into 2 6-hour shifts. So at Rolling Meadows, we have 75 students. There will be 1 supervisor and 6 aides per shift. At Miller's Point, 50 students will have 1 supervisor and 4 aides per shift, and the same thing for Hartman. 50 students, 1 supervisor, and 4 aides per shift. The principals at each respective campus will hire their personnel. Principals are responsible for overseeing the summer program. Right now, I am overseeing the summer adventure program. However, the new Assistant Superintendent for Academic Support and Post-Secondary, which is Dr. Mary Duhart-Toppin, will oversee the program in the summer and for the remainder of the school year. And this is how we determine our personnel cost. And so there are 3 different positions that we thought of. And so one of the things that we really wanted to do was try to hire some students from our CTE educational program. And so we actually sent out a flyer trying to recruit some kids to apply. We ended up getting a couple of brave souls, but one of them was hired, and that person was hired over at Miller's Point. So on the supervisors, Rolling Meadows will have 2, Miller's Point will have 2, Mary Hartman will have 2. Again, I'm going to remind everybody that we have 12-hour shifts, so we did go into 6-hour shifts. Those people are getting paid $17.50 an hour. There's a total of 6 staff. So the cost per week per person is $525. If I multiply that times 6, we have to pay $3,150 per week. On the aides, there are 12 at Rolling Meadows, simply because they have more kids. 7 at Miller's Point and 8 at Mary Hartman. The 6-hour shift, $14 an hour. There's 27 staff. at $420 a week, and that cost $11,340. On the student side, Miller Point did hire a student, and again, it'll be 6 hours. We're paying the student $10 an hour. It comes out to, $300 a week, and then it costs $300 a week. So total cost for the week is $14,790 per week. And so then I broke it down by session 1 and session 2. So session 1, the weekly cost is $14,990. We multiply that by 4 weeks. So our total cost is $59,160. And in session 2, it's the same amount, $790. We multiply that by 3 weeks, and that cost is $44,370. So the total cost for personnel will be $103,530. So how do we hire the staff? There's 2 different ways that we hire the staff. The first one is Judson ISD employees. So any current Judson ISD employee can apply through Eduphoria. All summer applications were posted in Eduphoria. There's 2 positions that were posted, the supervisor for the Summer Adventure Club and then the aides for the Summer Adventure Club. If you were wanting to work from outside of the district, outside of Judson ISD, or you were a student, then anyone interested in working in the program can apply through Frontline. The 2 positions that were posted were the aides for Summer Adventure Club and then students wanting to work for the Summer Adventure Club. And if you're wondering why did we not advertise the supervisors, because we wanted the existing JISD Adventure Club supervisors that have experience running the program to run the program. Okay. So moving forward in the 2021-22 school year, the vision is to build the Adventure Club to focus on academics as well as brain breaks. In the fall, each campus will have the opportunity to build their own after-school Adventure Club. We hope that the campuses model it similar to the Summer Adventure Club by either read aloud and doing activities, doing math, through technology, allowing the kids to do brain breaks, and of course doing centers of interest. The staff will be hired by the campus principal and can be used throughout the day in any area where they feel that they are needed. So the number of aides are going to depend on the number of the students that request the services at each of the campuses. These aides report to work at 10 a.m. in the morning, and they leave at 6 p.m. at night. Campus principals will be responsible for running their program at their campuses. And during the year, the parents pay $170 a month for 10 months. There is a discount of $20 per additional sibling. Okay. And that concludes my presentation. If anybody has any questions about summer camp.
Ms. Eaton?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I noticed it starts with kindergarten, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So do they have a built-in nap time?
Not our kindergartners, no. We don't do naps.
They don't nap anymore.
No.
In school. Yeah, pre-K, but not kindergarten.
Okay. And then the other thing is the price for the sessions in the summer, at least. Do you have any comparative information from the vacation Bible schools that'll be going on at the different churches in the area?
No.
I just want to see if we're, where we stand price-wise.
I don't have any comparison, but I can tell you that we are pretty cheap at $750 because you're bringing in your child at 7 o'clock and leaving at 6. That's 12 hours. So I don't know.
And remind me, is that per week or per session?
Per session.
That's really cheap.
Yes,
Speaking
ma'am.
as a parent who has researched this extensively.
I want to
Okay.
say, I think it's like $6 or $7 a day per child, per day. I think that's kind of what it turns out to be. We couldn't get any
To
cheaper.
compare, I would say that like the Museum costs $750 a week, if I'm not mistaken. It might be more, it might be a little, it might be less than that, but it's like really expensive.
It is.
I
And
was
so
I
these-
was just curious.
I don't know, but I
No,
will look.
I'll check mine.
Yeah.
Our
I'll
vacation
look,
Bible
I'll look,
Eden?
Miss Eden, and I'll research real quick, and I'll give you something on it.
Miss Eden?
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Yes.
I always thought that Vacation Bible School was only like half a day. So do you know the churches that have Vacation Bible School all day.
I'll figure it out. You're welcome, ma'am.
Ms. Robinson, I have
Yes,
a
sir.
question for you.
Yes, sir.
Where is the funding for this? Is it title? Is it
No, sir.
M&O?
It pays itself.
Okay, so it's sustained by parents paying into the program?
Yes, sir.
So that's every part of it?
Yes, I mean, basically, the personnel costs, yes. Now, we will have costs for taking the kids on the field trip. And I won't know that until hopefully tomorrow when I get the figures and then we look at the figures. But I can tell you that even if we take the kids on field trips and if we buy them a T-shirt, we're still going to be in the black.
Well, that's optimistic in terms of sustaining the program.
Mhm.
And is this year one, is a plan to expand this program, did I hear you correctly, next summer
So,
or next year?
So we have always done this program. Adventure Club landed on my lap, and so I was asked to design it, and so me being the educator that I am, I just kind of felt that we needed not to be a daycare, we needed to be instructional.
No,
And so that's the reason why
I think
the
you're spot
redesign.
on. I mean, I did have an opportunity to visit many of our after-school programs during
Mm-hmm.
my time, and the part that I felt that was missing was the emphasis on academics
Yes.
during that period of time, because you have children who are most at risk who are in those programs.
Mhm.
We should be doing something.
Absolutely.
So I commend it. But my concern is capacity. We have 3 schools.
Mhm.
I would imagine that there is a bigger demand for this service than we're providing. And if it's self-funded, why didn't we put it at every elementary school that has a need, especially our title campuses across the district? We have 3 that we've identified.
Mhm.
So that's where I'm kind of,
It's-
wondering.
When we look at the title campuses, it's a little bit more difficult for our parents to pay the $750. A lot of our Title I students are actually going to attend summer school, and so they will actually be in our schools from, Ceci, 7 o'clock, oh, Ceci left, from 7 o'clock in the morning till 2:30 in the afternoon. So most of our Title I campuses, the kids will be in school. We are running 2 sessions, one in June and one in July.
Okay, I'm interested to look a little more at this, but thank you.
Yeah. And then, of course, we do have our Boys and Girls Club that will be running at Candlewood as well, and that one is free of charge. So if we do get more kids, we will hire more staff.
I did see this entire presentation already on the website, so parents can go
Yes-
to it,
yes,
see it,
ma'am.
and get
We're-
all of this information.
We're trying to do a blast
Right.
again. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson.
Sorry, Ms. Robinson, it just occurred on me.
Uh-huh.
The Hartman campus, right, that's one of them?
Yes,
That
ma'am.
is on the southern part of our district. I suspect that those are probably economically disadvantaged families.
Mhm.
How are they going to pay the $750?
So one of the things that we have in our district, Mr. Macias, is that if the student happens to be homeless, we actually provide a scholarship for them. So we end up paying for those kids that have that they're in that particular dilemma. I do want you to know that because of the pandemic, our homeless numbers have increased, simply because it's very difficult for our parents to be able to pay for the rent and put a roof over their heads.
I suspect we might be able to get support across the district. Again, I'm just looking at
No,
expanding it more.
absolutely. Yes,
District
sir.
4 would love to have a campus that has this in it.
No,
But
absolutely.
just for my information, the individuals going to Hartman wouldn't all be in the geographical area for Hartman. They'd be anywhere in the district.
Yes, and so one of the things that we're allowing our parents to do, and I'll give you the, for instance, let's say that I work over here at Olympia, but I live over at Hartman, then I have the choice of where do I want to take my child? Do I want to leave him closer to my house, so it's easier for me to pick him up in the afternoons, or do I bring him and take him to Rolling Meadows and pick him up after work? So parents have a choice of where they want to go.
Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you.
Ms. Robinson,
Yes,
just one
more
last
question.
question. And you may have said this, and I apologize if you
No,
did.
it's okay.
Do the students have to be Judson students to go to the program?
No, sir.
Okay, so one of the, and I'll frame what I'm about to say by saying that we know we're trying to find pathways of retention and recruitment for our students. It'd kind of be interesting to find out if we can capture some of the students that went out to the charter schools or to the private schools in that program and see how we can have conversions, right? So, for whatever the reason that they were either pushed or pulled from the district, that might be a good opportunity for conversions. So just keep, I'm sure you've thought
Oh,
of that.
absolutely. And just to let you know that we at Judson, we consider ourselves a district without borders. And so we are totally open.
Fantastic. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Moving on to item 8B, update on board advisory committees. I will start with the Insurance Committee. Ms. Eaton, what is the update from the last, let's see, there was a meeting this week, is that correct?
Correct, there was.
Ms. Eaton, you're on that committee, right? I'm sorry?
Yes, but I was not at the meeting.
Oh, okay. And who was?
I can
Ms.
update.
Go ahead, please.
So we're moving forward with looking at options for insurance in the upcoming year. And we are trying to be innovative so that we can provide opportunities for our employees to have a more extensive and robust insurance for less cost. Mr. Atkins presented 3 different options, and that's going to be shared at the campuses. I have a good feeling about which way it's going to go, I think. And the insurance committee is going to meet again one more time and then bring a recommendation to the board on which way to go. And I commend Mr. Atkins for his thorough work in investigating, offering all the information out there, answering lots of frequently asked questions, and being very available to us to make the best decision that we can.
Growth and planning.
I can speak to that.
Yes,
so we met about a week and a half ago as a growth and planning committee at, oh gosh, Woodlake Middle School. Thank you. I was like, oh, I was there. It was raining. And had a very robust conversation about continuing to set vision for the district for the next 10 years, or just looking ahead into the future. And I think there was a lot of traction, not only to think about like the facility needs in the district and how can we make sure that our facilities get equitable treatments, but also just thinking about programs and the ways that parents are thinking about academics. I've seen a large increase in parent representation on the committee, and that's exactly what we need. So I'll extend the invitation again to join us. The next one's going to be at Wagner High School on Monday. Everybody is welcome from the community, and look forward to seeing folks there.
And that meeting's at 6 p.m.?
Correct, yes.
At Wagner, okay. And I'll speak for the HOH. There's nothing to speak for yet because we've not met, but we do meet on May the 25th, and Dr. Taganog will be back with us. So I'll have a report for you in June. Let's see, those are the 3. Anything else I left out? This would be a good time, yes. Mr. Macias, you now will be sitting on the Growth and Planning Committee. What say you about that?
That's fine.
Okay, all right. Then Monday,
That's
6
with Ms.
p.m.
Rodriguez, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Monday,
and Mr.
6
Diaz.
p.m. at Wagner. Okay. Update on board training, conferences, events, and consider future agenda item requests by board members. We haven't been to any trainings lately, but we do have our conference coming up this summer, the SLI. And is there anybody that has any future agenda items?
In regards to training.
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody should have received an email.
Oh, yes,
From Leadership ISD,
ISD.
and yours will probably be going out tomorrow, Mr. Macias. And the individual from Leadership ISD is requesting to spend some time talking to you about our needs.
Right. Each board member, everybody got that email, right? Okay. Future agenda items. Does anyone have, Mr. Diaz, do you have anything that you would like to add to the next agenda? All right. Mr. Macias?
Not at present.
Ms. Canoia?
I actually do. At our next meeting, I think we have a workshop coming up. Could we please have an item to go over our board operating procedures? Since we have a new member, we want to make sure that we review that and that we all sign it. And I may have a little tweak that I might propose to it. So a discussion action item, please.
All righty.
And I'll fill out the form.
Discussion action. I don't. Ms. Rodriguez, how about you?
Yes, so I've been paying close attention to the legislative session, and there's a lot of legislation coming through that will impact public schools. There's one in particular that I think is goes against the stance that our district has taken about equity and race in particular. And so I'd like to propose a resolution, and I can work on the language for that, speaking about how we would like our teachers to be able to have the freedom to discuss current events in ways that are educational for students and that build better citizens and promote diversity and equity as we want to as a district. So I will bring some proposed language to the board.
Madam President, if I could just ask Betty real quick. Betty, do you have those forms with you? Great. If everybody could just remember to complete that form. Thank you.
And I would hope to get that on the agenda for the June 3rd.
For June 3rd.
Yeah.
At this time, pardon me? Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Eaton and Ms. King. Ms. Eaton, do you have a future agenda item?
Yes, but it won't be for June. It has to do with our service department, equipment needs and things like that, as far as, how they're maintained. But I'll get the wording together and fill out the form. Thank you.
And Ms. King?
And I don't have anything at this time.
Item 9, closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074, discussing personnel, the personnel report, and updates including new hires, resignations, and administrative appointments. Executive Director of Special Education. Item B, pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071, attorney consultation regarding legal issues related to potential anticipated or pending construction litigation and construction issues. The time now is 8:57, and we will go into closed session. Now is 9:27. We are back in open session. Item A, consider and take possible action regarding the personnel report and updates, including new hires, resignations, and administrative appointments. Executive Director of Special Education, is there a motion?
A motion to approve. Oh, now you got me nervous. A motion to approve the item as discussed in closed session.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded. We'll start with you, Mr. Diaz. Mr. Diaz?
Rafael Diaz, aye.
Mr. Macias?
Yes.
Ms. Canoyer?
Suzanne Canoyer, aye.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Jennifer Rodriguez, aye.
Ms. Eaton? Ms. King?
Shatanya King, aye.
Renee Pichelle, aye. Motion passes unanimously. Dr. Ball, take it.
Yes, we would like to congratulate Ms. Carrie Armstead for being our new Executive Director of Special Ed.
Congratulations, Ms. Armstead. Welcome aboard. There's no action on item B or C. So at this time, at 9:28, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Wait a minute, Ms. Armstead.